Somewhere in a factory, a product is living twice. Once as a physical thing that is boxed, labeled, and sitting on a shelf, and once as a row in a database. This is a story about the second one, about the distance between how a company makes things and how it talks about them. About what happens when the software that runs a business quietly becomes the thing that holds it back. This company that I work with makes physical products, thousands of them, in different variations, sizes, materials, specifications, the kind of catalog where no single person knows the whole thing by heart. Running underneath all that was an ERP. If you haven't lived near one, it's essentially a system that tracks what the business owns, makes, ships, and sells. This can include stock, orders, pricing. It's a source of truth, and it works. And that was never the problem. The problem was everything it touched afterward. Because the same product data eventually became the website, the data sheets, the brochures, the thing a customer reads right before deciding whether to trust the company. And an ERP was never designed for that. It was designed for finance and operations. It was not designed for marketers or designers or a content writer. Changing anything on that system means a ticket, a queue, and a cost. So people did what people always do. They went around it. So for some context, I was hired with this company to design their website. And to design their website, I had to speak with different departments, understand what systems were in place, and understand the gaps. So you remember how I said people went around it? So before I drew a single screen, I spent weeks with the company's internal team, just listening, mapping the gaps between what they had and what they actually needed. I sat down with operations, marketing, finance, technical, procurement, and all of them had the same thing to say, but with different accents. The product data lived in the ERP, and also sometimes on a spreadsheet, and in someone's inbox, and in a folder called final_v3. Everyone had quietly built their own copy of the truth because the real one was too hard to reach. Marketing couldn't update a description without asking operations. Operations didn't really see why a description mattered. The content team was rewriting the same specifications by hand for the fifth time because there was nowhere to write them down just once because everyone kind of had their own system. And here's the part that stayed with me. Nobody was doing anything wrong. Every workaround was a completely rational response to a system that asked too much of them. The dysfunction wasn't the people, it was the architecture. So I stopped asking the question what features you wanted, and I started understanding what the process was behind the day-to-day of each department. The obvious fix was to elevate the ERP to be more friendlier, more flexible, but we didn't do that. Modifying the ERP was slow and expensive, and every change risked breaking something in finance that no designer should be standing near. So we asked a different question. What if the ERP didn't have to be the place or the brain behind the website to manipulate the data? So it's not the only place the truth lived. That was the whole idea. So a new layer would sit on top. The ERP stays the source of record. The stock, the code, the numbers that must never be wrong. But everything human, like the words, the images, the documents, the decisions, the data being manipulated for websites and other platforms for categories and everything else, we wanted to move that somewhere else that's built explicitly to do that. A product information management system, a PIM, a place where a product stops being a row and becomes something a person can actually understand. To be fair, this was something that was decided before I joined as well. But after I understood the process and the limitations of the ERP system that they had in place, this seemed like the best and reasonable choice that I myself would have ultimately come to. And once there was this trustworthy place for a product to live, everything wanted to move in. It quietly became the brain, the one place for the website, the content team, the datasheet generations, and even research and development had their intranet site set up on this space. Design started as archaeology. Before any wireframes, we mapped how information actually moved, from the ERP to the website, and what the challenges actually were. Adding attributes to technical data or cross-categorization of product families seemed quite difficult to do on the ERP because the system, again, was not built for it. And every time we wanted to build new functionality, it seemed like an impossible task that cost us way too much. So the architecture that we came up with was set up intentionally in a way that gave us flexibility over the product data above the ERP that it sat on, which is a new layer of PIM. We built the system in such a way that it could handle not just technical data, but also manage any and all data like images, related products, drivers that go along with those products, and anything of that sort in one place, which is independent of different platforms, irrespective of it being used for the website or social media or ads. We now have all of that information in one place that we can control and then link it to different platforms that may come down later in the future for us. It was built for scale. Then the surface people who actually touch product, like using bulk editing, because nobody should change thousands of items one click at a time. Search and filtering that assumed you'd forgotten the exact code. Version control, so a change was never a mystery. And rich content, market copy, and SEO sitting right next to the specification. So the story and the data finally lived in the same room. None of it is real until someone actually builds it. We built the product with a development team in India, and most of the honest work didn't happen in the handoff. It happened in the gaps, the daily calls, the half-formed ideas, the quick questions that rearranged the entire feature. Good collaboration here didn't look like beautiful finished handoffs thrown over a wall. It looked like arguing early, and sometimes a thing that I assumed was hard, they're already half solved. Somewhere in there, we stopped shipping screens and we started shipping agreements. Plenty of it didn't work the first time. We didn't really know how a feature would affect our day-to-day unless we used it in our day-to-day. Every iteration was the same lesson, wearing a different outfit. We kept designing for the system, but we kept having to redesign for different user groups that were using it. And the user group sometimes used to be blurred, and that was the difficult part of it all. AI arrived here late, and it was on purpose. Because we earned something first. We needed a clean, structured platform where the data was clean in the first place. And only then would AI make it genuinely useful instead of just impressive. So it stayed quiet and it stayed in service of the person. When a product had specification but no description, it could draft one in the company's voice, built from real attributes, not invented out of thin air or hallucinated. Never the final word, always the first one. The person still decided everything. AI just made sure that they didn't start from scratch. Because the goal was never to remove the human from the work. It was always to delete the blank page. I can't give you or myself a confetti cannon ending yet, because we're still weeks away from launching this company-wide. But something's already happening. The best infrastructure tends to arrive quietly, and this one arrived early as well. The internal team, the same people who showed me every gap, they've been living in it for weeks. One by one, they stopped opening the spreadsheet. Day by day, they've been utilizing this application, making it ready for the rest of the business. Product information finally has one home, and the early users have already moved in. And hopefully soon, it won't just be them. It would be manufacturing, research and development, procurement, marketing, everyone else. Here's what stayed with me. We like to think that great products have beautiful interfaces, but most of the ones that actually matter are invisible, even though this one has one. It's a system that nobody praises. It should be a system that just lets someone go home a little earlier and never think about why. Good design isn't something you notice, it's the friction that disappears, the meeting that stopped happening, the workaround nobody needed anymore. We didn't build people a prettier database. We built people a little more room for them to do the job that they were actually hired to do. And I think the best sign that it worked would be when nobody talks about it, it's just run. That's the strange ambition of this kind of design, to build something so well fitted that it just disappears into their day-to-day. And with that, I'm Raymond Phillip. Subscribe for more.